No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Hey, we're live streaming on the TuneIn app. That's right, 24/7. If you don't have it, seconds to download it, punch in WCRN, take us anywhere. Do me a favor, hit that like button so that we know you're there. And then it's also easy for you to find when you open up your TuneIn app. 508-871-7000. That's how you join the conversation, 508-871-7000. Ted A flying the board. Ted E, good pup, in studio with me. And you can also text us on our text line, which is up and running, 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. Or email me, text Joe on the radio, exactly what you're doing. Text Joe on the radio at gmail.com. It appears on the same screen in real time during the show. If you want to reach out to the show off air, then use the show email. That's joemshow@gmail.com. I don't look at the text Joe on the radio if we're not on the air, folks. And we're also live streaming on my social media platforms. So you can watch Facebook and Twitter, YouTube, even Twitch TV. And you'll see camera in studio, not a big production, just a camera in studio, but the audio is streaming. So many, many ways to tune in and listen to the show. All right, that takes care of some of the housekeeping. Again, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Where to start? There's more than we could ever fit into an hour today, but let's take some of the choice bits if you can. We've got the president speaking at the AFL-CIO, right, yesterday. And I don't know if you caught any of that, folks, but it was alternative reality in most of what he had to say. Doesn't he like to talk about his predecessor? Doesn't like to use the name, but he always says my predecessor, the guy before me did this, the guy before me left this. Well, here's the thing, Joe. When you were talking to what should have been a very friendly crowd there, you left out the whole part about a once-in-a-century pandemic that the entire globe is reeling from and recovering from. And if you want to be truthful about the guy before you, then you got to talk about what he did in his 4 years, which is arguably more than most presidents do in 8. And that prior to the pandemic forcing businesses to shut down, and sometime multi-generation businesses gone forever, folks, we had the lowest unemployment in decades. And a matter of fact, the lowest unemployment for those classes that the Democrats consider their terrain, right? That's their domain is blacks, Latinos, women, the downtrodden, right? But we had the lowest unemployment on record for females, blacks, Latinos, and wage increase in not for the billionaires and millionaires, Bernie and Joe, but for the blue-collar, middle-class Americans, had the highest growth in wages without it being counteracted by hyperinflation. So 18 months in office, you're really remembering things really through rose-colored glasses, Joe. And there were a lot of just straight-out lies in here, folks. When he talks about the president leaving with less jobs than when he took office, only the second president, because you shut businesses down. And then you pumped the economy full of free money, which caused one of the largest exodus of the workforce in the history of our workforce. People have left the workforce. People are not working. There were Facebook groups on how to live without working again. I don't know how that happens. I mean, you've got to have something. mom and dad's basement or something to back up. I don't know the details how you do that, nor did I care to take the time to go figure it out. But the Democrats are actually meeting on the Hill today. This morning they were meeting. And get this, the meeting was about the messaging on the economy. But think about that. The meeting's about the messaging. Instead of it addressing policies and coming up with answers, solutions, and taking steps to help soften it. And God help us reverse it. So they feel that the problem is in messaging. Dana Perino, who is a White House secretary, and she's anchor at one of the Fox things, and she's on a bunch of shows all the time. But I always find it interesting when she talks about anything concerning the press secretary or the communications of any of the departments in the current administration and up on the Hill. And she often points out one of the easiest jobs that there is in Washington is the press secretary or communications for Democrats. The hard job is when you're for a Republican or conservative, because the Democrats, I mean, how hard is that? The media prints what you want. They don't challenge you when they should challenge you. They never have the right follow-up questions. So it's a pretty easy job. And she points out that it's never the messaging. Messaging isn't the problem. The policies are the problem. Or the staffers the problem. It's not the messaging. And this guy was supposed to be the grown-up in the room and united nation. And I would argue that he has done more to divide this nation than bring us together. He is constantly, every opportunity, he slams the Republicans. He talks about this ultra mega and super mega and all this stuff, and he just speaks down to and downgrades anybody who is not on his side. Meanwhile, the Democrats are just focusing on their radical agenda and not the American people. And that's something that has got to change. They have no self-awareness, folks, to take a pause, step back, think about what's happening, do a course correction, and forget thinking your problem is messaging. And here's another little bit of advice unsolicited to you. Regardless of what you keep telling the American people, regardless of the spin that you orchestrate, the lies that you tell, the rewriting of history, we see and feel ourselves. We see with our own eyes. We feel with the impact on our wallet and our savings account. We feel it when we go to the grocery store and we fill up our cars. We know what's going on, and we know what you did. We know that you've canceled the pipelines, the Alaska deal, that you have declared war on the fossil fuel companies. This is the thing that really has to get you here, folks. Right? We have Joe Biden saying that he's declaring the war on the fossil fuels. His quote, "No more subsidies for the fossil fuel industry. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. It ends," unquote. And then they try to tell you that the whole problem, it's the CEOs of the oil companies who are price gouging you and making record profits. And in this one, they're not drilling because they make more money not drilling. Figure that one out. The reason they're not drilling, folks, is because they have an administration that declared war on them. They have to jump through a million hoops for these permits, and you have an administration that any time after you have hundreds of millions, if not $1 billion or more, wrapped up into your project to drill and pull this energy out of the ground, they can shut you down or attack you on a multitude of levels. Now, I believe in capitalism, in risk and reward. And the bigger risk you take, yes, the higher the reward tends to be, and it should be that way. But this is playing against the House. The deck is stacked. This isn't a fair playing ground out there. And prior to the Biden administration, Trump did a lot to alleviate it and opened up drilling. And what happened? We had $2 a gallon gas. We were an energy exporter, and it helped make us more of a powerful nation on the planet. Because the American currency is the touchstone of currency around the planet. And if we lose that, like if OPEC decides to take payment in anything but American dollars, we're in trouble, folks. A lot to talk about. Lines are open and available. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let me go to Mark in Worcester, who's been waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, what's on your mind, sir?
I'm going to ask you a question. Give me some odds. Even money, 9-5. They're going to try to indict Trump. I mean, shortly, sooner than later. What do you say?
I say this entire dog and pony show that's the end result. This is all to get an indictment. They want a felony on this guy so that he can't run for office in 2024. And if they can't get that, then they want to beat him up so bad, ruin his reputation and his status to the point that he can't run because it would be impossible.
Yeah, you only got a minute left. I'll end with this. I was listening to Jeff Kuhner on RKO this morning. He was playing an audio clip of A.G. Barr. I guess he just recently was on a day or so somebody interviewed him, somebody on the phony media, and they asked him the question if he happened to watch Dinesh D'Souza's 2,000 Mules. You know how Barr responded to the question?
No, go ahead, tell me.
He started laughing. 2,000 Mules, ha 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 ha. That's what Barr's response was.
Yeah, I also saw him when he said something when he was in the committee hearing, and he said that Trump was detached from reality. The problem with this J6, guys, it's hard for me to take anything that's being said there when we know that they have lied over and over and over again. They've put false out. Schumer, right? This guy just lies all the time and incites stuff, and there's no consequences. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. Come back on the other side. Stick with us. Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show.
Whether it's the latest news, sports, and Howie Carr in the afternoon or North Star music at night, listening to Full Service Radio 830 WCRN has never been easier. Just log on to WCRNradio.com. The theater season is finally back, and it's heating up. Don't miss a moment with Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theater and your host, Lisa Condit. Friday mornings at 9 right here on AM 830 WCRN. Full Service Radio.
Hey everybody, Ryan Maloney here from It's the Liquor Talking, letting you know that you can hear us Saturday mornings at 11, but also at our new time, weeknights, right after Howie Carr at 7 p.m. It doesn't stop there. Randall and I are going to stick around and host North Star Music after the show. So join us for New England's only show about wine and spirits, and then pour yourself a glass of your favorite adult beverage. Enjoy Randall and I as we listen to your favorite music on the North Star.
Hi, I'm Lee Gaudette from the Gaudette Insurance Agency, a third-generation company located in Whitensville, with branch locations in Grafton, Southborough, Westborough, and Shrewsbury.
Relax.
We are a full-service independent agency offering all aspects of insurance to businesses, industry, and individuals.
Come on.
Stop in and see us at any of our locations for a free assessment of your insurance needs. Also, listen to WCRN on Friday mornings at 9:30 for our radio show.
Metro West real estate market, have you a little crazy? 736-0005 for a private consultation with awards Gary Kelly and Sue Gordon of La Macchia Realty. They'll help you make the right move. 508-733-6005 or movewithgary.com. If you see something,
do something.
Be the difference.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show.
Here we go.
We Joe.
All right, folks. So welcome back to the second quarter of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. Don't forget, we're live streaming on the TuneIn app, and you can take us anywhere. Very simple to do. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and if you want to watch and listen, you can do that on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Facebook, Twitter, and even Twitch TV, folks. 508-871-7000. So just to finish up on this, it was a tough thing to watch. Because Joe Biden was pulling that mean old man thing too, raising his voice and yelling and then whispering into the mic. And the thing here, folks, is the memo must have gone out because we've seen a shift in the coverage. So the memo went out that said it's okay to start to tell the truth about Joe Biden. No more covering for him, no more sugarcoating, no more omission of the truth, because he isn't our guy in 2024. I forget who the headline was talking about. Look, if he was to run a second time towards the end of his second term, he's going to be closer to 90 than 80. And he's an old 79. Now, you might put a spin on that and say he's a young 106, but he's an old 79, and he's showing it. And apparently, it's okay now to point this out. The memo went out. You can tell the truth. You can mention his decline in cognitive health. You're allowed to question that. He fell up the Air Force One stairs again the other day. And it was, out of all the people, Don Lemon, it's just a vacuous head, not the brightest bulb sitting at the table. We know that. We understand that. But what was interesting is we had the White House press secretary asked a question that legitimate media should be. Yeah, Don Lemon. It was whether or not Joe Biden had the stamina to run, both mentally and physically, in 2024. And she was flabbergasted and said, he's the president of the United States. Now, what one has to do with the other? That's he's fit to run because he is the president. Is that the thought process there? Is that the line of thought that gets you to that conclusion? Seriously. But what was interesting on this is Don Lemon, after putting this pointed question, he didn't smirk it off or laugh it off. He kept a deadpan, serious face. You know, and I think, it was the New York Times reporter, that's right, who said that the 79-year-old president's age is a major issue. It was a major issue this time around, but they had the cover of the pandemic in the basement to hide anything. And we know right after 100 and something days, his first one-on-one interview is a late night half-wit comedian who made his bones, by the way, in a show called The Man Show. They totally objectified women, but because Kimmel has sacrificed at the wokeness altar, those sins are forgiven for some reason. Because we've found out that time doesn't matter when it comes to being attacked by the left and wokeism, right? It doesn't matter. You could have been a 17-year-old that made a stupid tweet and lose the job of a lifetime because of it, as we've seen happen with that editor to be at Vogue. So he goes on with Kimmel, who, again, this is not, he's supposed to be a late night comedian. And that role, that job, or that, not the job, but that stint of going on the late night comedian, that isn't supposed to be for the president of the United States, the primary interview. That's the lighthearted, fun side where we see Bill Clinton on the saxophone, right? And Barack Obama making jokes about himself, and even George Bush doing a top 10 list with David Letterman. That's supposed to be after you've done the serious adult interviews. and have actually answered questions from serious reporters about serious issues. But those handlers are petrified to allow him on his own. They don't want him to stay at a microphone after he's finished the teleprompter. And even that, guys, he can't make it through a teleprompter read, can he? So the memo's out. It's okay. And there's going to be, if all the tea leaves are right, a shellacking come November. I'm a little bit on the side of Jesse Waters about talking about it because I think it jinxes it. Plus, I've said this all along. For some reason, either the Democrat elite leadership in the belt, either they just aren't accepting reality on this issue, or they know something, because they don't seem panicked. And they really don't believe that they're going to lose the control of the House in a major way, and probably the Senate. They just don't seem to think that's going to happen. So they're either clueless or they're confident. I don't know. What say you? You tell me which one it is. But it's either way, it's a little scary to me. And I'm sick of Joe Biden's answer to the inflation question is him explaining what inflation is. That's not an answer, Joe. We know what inflation is. We painfully feel it every day. 508-871-7000. What say you? Let's go to the phones. Tom's been waiting. Tom, good afternoon, sir. What say you?
Good afternoon, Joe. First time calling into your show. I'm listening from central New Hampshire.
Oh, nice.
I just want to make a call. Jimmy Kimmel. Honestly, I was a fan of Jimmy Kimmel's comedy before his late night career. But nobody wants to talk about, or they try to sweep it under the rug, the double standard that is Jimmy Kimmel and his comedy. Because what you made the point, he made his bones on the Man Show, which again, I enjoyed when it was on the air. But all the comedy portrayed in that show is exactly what the left,
Bingo,
John. His ilk and Jimmy Kimmel himself rant and rave about today. And I just want to give one example to you and your listeners. I'm sure you probably remember what I'm about to bring up, but maybe to the listeners out there that don't know this, you can YouTube the Man Show, Carl Malone, Carl with a K. Jimmy Kimmel's not only in black face, but in black body, standing before the camera in makeup to make a skin tone appear that of Carl Malone, wearing a basketball tank top, holding a basketball and cracking wise. Now, I think this gets funny. I don't get offensive toward this blackface thing because Carl Malone happens to be a black man. I don't see what the problem is, but the problem is the hypocrisy where the left wants to make a big deal out about stuff like that. Now, you might think it's comedy and bad taste, and that's fine, but the fact of the matter is here's Jimmy Kimmel, darling of the left, just, I don't know, a few years before his late night career, doing what,
exactly
they accuse others, their enemies of doing.
And Tom, that's 100%
that's the
of my
point
point.
I wanted to bring up.
Yes, and that's what I was bringing up. I 100% agree with you. And that picture of him in total blackface and black body with the basketball, that's all but disappeared from the internet, by the way. I mean, you have to really go look for that. But the thing is, he was the epitome of what the left wokeism attacks today, but he's got this pass because now he absolutely worships at the altar of wokeism, right? And
he's a
they've
useful
forgiven
idiot
him
to the left.
that he is absolutely a useful idiot. And folks, that's a term usually used in the intelligence industry when they have an asset, and not actually useful idiot isn't even quite an asset. They're just someone who's an idiot and is useful to them. And that's what he is. And that's absolutely what he is. And to have him now act, in when he starts to lecture us about what is good and what is bad in this world, and how if you don't agree with the left and you don't agree, and even if you don't use the same verbiage that we're permitted to be used, then you are a horrible person. You're up there with Hitler and Trump and whatever. It's fair game to go after you. And everybody forgets that this guy got his name with a show called The Man Show, which totally objectified women. Totally. I agree 100% with your point, Tom.
Thanks, Joe. Have a great rest of your show.
Thank you. And thanks for listening. And thanks for calling. First time caller. Awesome. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. So, yeah, to the fact that Joe Biden goes on Jimmy Kimmel, who thought that was good? And wasn't it back, I think it was during the campaign, he went on with Cardi
2 minutes.
Cardi B, or I don't know, some rapper or something like that. Again, this God bless her, whatever career she makes a lot of money. She does, I guess, a rapper, a singer. I don't think I've ever listened to her stuff or know who she is that way. Just that she came up, and you're saying to yourself, why this person? This woman clearly doesn't even have a working concept of the Constitution, much less the government. And that's who they think is up there. And then he's on with Charlemagne, the guy who likes to call himself God, right? And that's when he did that quote about, if you ain't voting for Biden, you ain't black. And again, he gets to say these things, these comments, and they're never challenged. They're never asked a follow-up question about, like, what do you mean by that? And how insulting, because every single black associate of mine, friend of mine, thought that was insulting because of the implication of what it seemed to me, that you're black, so you have to behave this way. We're your savior. And that's always been the left's attitude. I mean, after they got done with trying to, take away the civil rights and form the KKK and voted in Jim Crow laws, and then, by Democratic legislators in the South, and then Democratic sheriffs carrying out and enforcing the Jim Crow laws.
30 seconds.
After they got through all that, then they started to talk about, you need us. We're the party that you have to come to. We're the party that is going to help you and save you. And that, the Blackics, right? She is, I'm running against the clock here. I got to take a break. We'll pick this up, but actually we're going to shift the conversation when we come back, because SCOTUS has some decisions that we're waiting for them to come out. And specifically, we'll talk a little bit about this abortion decision that we're waiting for, and maybe why they're trying to put it off a little bit. Stick with us. We'll be back on the other side, folks. Joe Mangiacotti Show, AM 830, WCRN.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry. Here's the latest Boston 25 weather on radio 830 WCRN. We're going to keep it partly cloudy and warm today. Not as hot as yesterday. Yesterday we had a lot of 80s on top, and today
You're breathing
I'm
heavy
thinking
today.
probably highs in the 70s out there. It's going to be a little cloudier than it was yesterday, with a mix of sun and clouds through the afternoon. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, leaving your Boston 25 live for morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Gordon Lightfoot, live, the legend in concert. You could read my love. October 19th at the Hanover Theater. Sunday, a night of hit after hit after hit. Get tickets now at thehanovertheater.org or call 877-571-SHOW. Gordon Lightfoot, the legend in concert.
Dr. Satya Mitra has journeyed from a childhood of poverty and homelessness to a successful career as a financial advisor, motivational speaker, and community leader. Now inspired by his guru, he uses his experiences to positively affect the lives of underprivileged people. We strive to house our blindness, poverty, homelessness, female empowerment, and good citizenship initiatives within the Joy Guru Humanitarian Center. If you wish to contribute or know deserving persons or initiatives that could use our assistance, please contact us at 508-641-8441.
Focus on your health with the Frankie Boyer Show, weekdays at 2 on Full Service Radio, AM 830 WCRN.
Fresh and familiar New England hits every evening at 7 on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I thank you for joining us and listening and participating, and you can do that at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Let me jump right to the phones because we've got some stacked up here. Ken in Bolton. Ken, good afternoon, sir. What say you?
I got a lot of things to say there, Joe.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I got a couple metaphors.
Okay.
For people to think as to explain what's going on. The rats are fleeing the ship. Second one, the dog has caught the vehicle.
Huh.
So let's.
And now what's he going to do with it?
Well, no, they're two separate issues. So the rats are fleeing the ship. That explains what's going on with the media, and actually what's going on with the powers to be of the Democrat Party. Now, you remember the prediction I made a couple months ago, don't you?
You made a couple, so just narrow it down.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of the president and how much time he has left in the White House, I set a date that basically a ticker will start ticking like a time bomb starting July 1st. That's just 16 days away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because
2 weeks from Friday.
Because after the midterms, right? You're going to see.
No, before.
Well, I understand that, but they're going to move on him right after the midterms. They have to.
No, what I'm saying is his time is up. Literally, he'll be. All right, I've had enough. I got a health issue because obviously a health issue can be explained away very easily.
Right.
Whereby Harris becomes president. Time after,
I know, and you're going to say, right, Barack Obama, the VP, and all
Barack
that.
Obama becomes vice president.
Now, the thing about it, do you think that this is going to be a situation where Joe Biden really does feel, okay, I made it, I became president, I enjoyed the trappings of the office, and I'm going to move? Or is it a sit down, they sit him down, and they say, it's better that you have a health issue because you are getting out of this office, whether we do it in your legacy, or you do it on your own and preserve your legacy. Do you think which one do you think is going to happen there?
Oh, absolutely the second. You've got it almost to a T.
Yeah.
What you have to realize is first and foremost, Joe Biden is a party loyalist in a hack, has been for 50 years.
Yeah, very much.
So what you described is almost exactly the way they're going to word it to him. That Joe, you've done so much for us for 50 years, but you're killing our party. Just look at the the primaries last night.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. And Donald Trump's track record
shocker in that?
is holding out very well. Which party, which primary are you talking about?
It wasn't even the primary. It was the special election. Texas District 34.
Okay.
A long-time Democrat-held district. Republican wins by 8 points.
Okay, and that's a healthy margin.
One of the areas of the district, Biden won by 13.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And the Republican won.
Yeah.
You know what? They don't talk about it on TV much.
No, but this is clear foreshadowing.
They know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That scares the bejesus out of them. Because you know what that means? That means the Nevada and Arizona Senate races are toast. Republicans are going to win because the Latinos and whatever they want to call them, Hispanics.
Oh, okay. That bothers me. So let's talk about that because the left decided to come up with this Latinx or Latinx, and the Latino community, rightfully so, rejects it. Nobody in that community wants to be called Latinx or Latinx. It just, who comes up with this crap? And Joe Biden's approval rating among the Latino community in this country has dropped to the lowest of any demographics to 24%, folks.
Bingo.
24%. The Latino, and this is, you know who's number one with them? Donald Trump. Right. The guy who said we're going to build a wall, Mexico is going to pay for it, and they're not sending their best. Yet among the Latino community, their first choice by huge margin over Joe Biden is Donald Trump.
Joe, simple explanation with all that you described. Still, the vast majority, probably 90+% of the voters of Hispanic heritage came here legally.
Exactly.
They're disgusted with the Dems who have a first-class resident policy for illegals and a second-class citizen policy for them and all the rest of us.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because all of these people of South American descent, Latino descent, who have come here, did it the right way, and then have assimilated into the United States of America, and they're raising their family, they're going to church, they're going to their jobs, they're paying their taxes, they're being good citizens, and all of a sudden they're getting slapped in the face because the left is continually telling them things about them that they don't like. From you're going to be called Latinx to you need our help on everything, and you're a special class, and the same thing they do to the black population. And yet, remember, Joe Biden was talking about that between blacks and Latinos, and what was the word that he used when described that there was a little more something about style? Blacks were monolithic, but Latinos, oh man, I'll have to go back.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I'm sure Carl, I can remember what he called. And again, there was a little, what are you talking? But then it all went away. Again, he gets a pass, and we ignore all the racist remarks he makes, all the idiotic remarks that he makes. He gets a pass on all that stuff. But they're sick of it. In the polls show it. The polls show it.
Yeah, Joe, you're describing people who are proud to be American.
Exactly.
Democrats no longer are proud to be American. They call us systemically racist.
Yes.
That's simple.
And you know what, Ken? The fact that millions of people of color are trying to get into this country totally goes against that narrative. If we're this horrific racist country, systemically racist, why do people of color from all over the globe literally take their lives in their hands to get into this country? And by the way, I just saw an article about the exodus from California going the other way. There are thousands of Californians who are relocating to Mexico for, quote, a easier, less expensive lifestyle. Are you kidding me? People are fleeing the Joe Biden America to have an easier life, less expensive life in Mexico.
In a few cases, it may be less crime-ridden.
Well, there are heads along the road and so forth because of the cartels. But hey, it's not downtown LA or San Francisco, so it's better than that. I mean, how bizarre is that's going on? All right. What else you got? Because I've got phone calls to be stacked up. Anything else you want to get in?
Well, just real quick, the dog catching the vehicle is about the green movement, war against that you're describing, the war against fossil fuels. Well, it's playing out and it's killing them.
Yeah. They're not right on anything. And those of us that believe the whole the climate control, because look, yes, pollution damages the atmosphere. That's not up for debate. But their answer to battle it is asinine. We're going to tie your hand behind the back. We're going to let other countries go unfettered and unsupervised. China told us, hey, we're going to build coal plants till 2032, and then we'll think about it, stopping, because that's our 100-year plan, and that's going to get us to where we want. Meanwhile, India polluting like crazy, but we're going to put it all on the Americans with carbon taxes and tell us that we have to start living a life, everything from not being able to drive our fossil fuel vehicles to eating bugs for protein instead of meat. That's what's coming. Thank you very much for the call, Ken. Appreciate it, folks. Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN 508-871-7000. Let me jump to the phones. Joe's been waiting very patiently. Joe, good afternoon, sir. What say you?
Hey, good afternoon, Joe. Thanks for taking my call. The economy is not going to get fixed. Biden has no intentions on fixing it. But I'm going to piggyback a little bit on what Ken was talking about. Biden's going to probably leave office, but he's not going to leave until he's secured the safety of his family from criminal prosecution.
Yes,
I don't know how he's going to do it. You know, that's a lot to leave on the plate of the next president unless he can give himself pardons and start dishing them out now. But he's not going to go anywhere until he can secure the safety of Hunter, his sister, his brother, and any other degenerate in that family that is stolen from the American people due to Joe Biden's influence in Washington. So that's the first thing.
Yeah, I think you're hit that on the head, Joe. I think that if he could give out preemptive pardons, he would do it. I think that that's his concern. We know that, there's been this grand jury on Hunter, and there's probably an indictment coming down.
A lot of hinges on the election, Joe.
Yes.
So who's going to control the Senate? So if they lose the Senate and the House, they're going to have to move fast before January, because they're going to have to get a lot of things in motion. And, they'll probably have to forget about Mr. Trump for a minute or two. I don't know if they can do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, good point. Hey, how would you like to see the world with Jim Jordan as chairman of the Judiciary Committee? Because that's the committee that has all that power for hearings and subpoenas and so forth. And he is going to look into Hunter. He's going to look into the graft and the pay. And he's also going to look into January 6th, but from the bigger picture of the other side. Why was the fact that President Trump authorized up to 20,000 National Guard people ahead of time, any number you want? And they went to Pelosi many times. They went to the mayor. Who rejected it? Mayor Bowser rejected it. Nancy Pelosi didn't ask for it. So there's a lot of questions about why did you reject this? The president offered it. And why would a guy who's trying to cause problem give you 20,000 troops
to protect the...
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Seconds. Joe, we're against the clock for a break.
That's fine,
it's
Joe.
set. You're welcome to hold over if you like, but I just got to take a break when I got to take a break. It's not a floating thing. So you hold on to that. No problem, Joe. You just stay there. All right, folks, you're listening to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Stick with us and we'll be back.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you Win Nations, performance for the planet.
Chris Thompson here, station manager at WCRN. I need salespeople. If you're retired or a stay-at-home mom looking to make a few extra dollars, this opportunity is perfect for you. Work part-time, set your own schedule. It's fun. We provide the training you need to succeed. The only thing better than listening to Howie Carr is selling Howie Carr. If you're outgoing, not afraid to learn new things, and would like to earn some extra money, call me at 508-870-5803, extension 222. Stop making money selling radio.
WCRN is an equal opportunity employer.
You're on your way home and you get the call. We need milk.
30
And
seconds.
how about some snacks to watch TV tonight? Where do you go? No matter where you are in Central Mass or Metro West, you can find what you need at a Yatco Food Mart. Not to mention great gas prices. You can fill up the gas tank and get all your snack needs as well as milk, and all at competitive prices that won't empty the wallet. Yatco Food Mart, serving you best for over 25 years. Yetco.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. Show.
All right, folks, welcome back to the fourth and final segment of the Wednesday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in AM 830 WCRN, 50,000 watts of power out of the Boston area, folks. Also live streaming on the TuneIn app. Just punch it in, WCRN. Do me a favor, hit that like button so that we know you're there. And don't forget, we're live streaming on my social media platforms. You can always find me via Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. All right, so we're talking to Joe, who was with us before the break, and agreed. We're at a point, Joe, where we understand that Joe Biden doesn't have the capability, the ability to actually think through this situation. He can't think through the problems that are facing him. We understand.
Joe, he didn't think all the way through the election. You know,
he didn't have to.
It was done by proxy, but not just Biden has dementia. The whole Democratic Party has dementia. Now they're going to go. They're complaining about the oil companies. Oh, they won't do this. They won't do that. Back in 2019 and 2020, Biden on several occasions said he wanted to put oil execs in jail, and he has the nerve to turn around and say, "Why aren't they helping?"
Yeah.
How could they trust this person that doesn't have any morals, doesn't have any sense of loyalty, and can turn on a dime on you? So it's not just Biden that has the dementia and the double standards that go along with it. It's the whole Democratic Party.
Well, here's the thing, Joe. Joe Biden and his handlers in the Democratic Party, they count on short memories, right? They capitalize on this. CNN came out and said that at some point they said, basically the average American viewer and listener to us remembers about a year, and then stuff goes away, and they don't really remember. So they feel that when they tell their news, and I'm air quoting that, they can craft it because people don't recall it. But here's the thing: there's shows like this who don't forget, because we took notes. we have recordings. We have phone calls from guys like you. We remember what really was the deal.
Memories from standing and waiting to shut the car off back in the 70s, shut the car off, waiting in gas lines every other day and pushing it up to the pump.
Yes.
That's burnt in my brain.
Absolutely. I remember. I was a little kid at the time, but I'd go with Dad, and because it was based on your plate, the last digit, whether you had like a 3 or a 4, odd and even, and then there was A to M or N to Z or whatever it was. And you had to wait. And those were Jimmy Carter years. And I'm getting sick of people, Joe, comparing Biden to Jimmy Carter, because that's an insult to Jimmy Carter at this point. Let's not forget something. Jimmy Carter was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and a nuclear engineer on a sub. The guy has a brain. And empathy. Wasn't a great president, but he really did what he thought was best for the American people. It wasn't, but he came from a good place. He has spent the rest of his life building homes, right, for Habitat for Humanity at 90 years old. And that's not Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
He also advocated for free and fair elections. We need a little bit of his statesmanship right about now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there are some, some of these decisions that we're waiting for SCOTUS, right? Of course, there's the abortion issue. And I just want to interject something here, Joe, and all the listeners. They're waiting for this decision to come out. Well, here's the thing. We have a few Supreme Court justices that have children who are still in school. And I don't blame them for dragging that out and not coming out with the decision while their kids are still in school, because teachers, not all of them, but the education system already showed us what happens when things don't happen the way they want it. When Trump was elected, right, they gave school kids off. They brought counselors in. They created safe space. They talked so negatively and quite frankly, horribly about the man who just got elected to the office of the President of the United States to elementary and secondary school kids that I thought it was so disgusting. Again, people forget what happened when he got elected, when Trump got elected, and how they treated it. So God knows what they will say and do when this comes out. And what if you are the child of one of those justices? How are you going to be treated in school? So I don't blame them pushing this off and wanting kids out of school before they come out with it. But
It sounds pretty strategic to me, and it would, cut down the volume of access to, I agree with that personally, and I would agree with it professionally. I don't know why they dragged their heels on it. They wouldn't have dragged their heels on them, their own safety.
Here's why. Because what is going on to the justices is in fact affecting them. And that's why we already have a federal law that you cannot protest outside of a justice, a judge, a jurist, even a court officer's home or place of business to influence anything they're dealing with. And why isn't AG down there, right? These people out in front of Amy Barrett Coleman's house, Kavanaugh's house, Alito's house, arrest them. All you have to do is arrest one of the groups, and that will stop it. It's already a law. Why is he electing not to enforce? That's his job. He's not supposed to apply the laws based on his political feelings.
They'll arrest them like they arrest all the other protesters with a wink, wink, and I'll see you in the afternoon, and you can start all over again the next day.
Yeah. I'm telling you that this is going to end up coming into a problem, Joe, because it's only a matter of time before something happens, right? I mean, we already have this kid come from California to kill Brett Kavanaugh with the junior starter murder kit, right? A Glock, a screwdriver, a knife, zip ties, on and on, right? Bizarre stuff in there. He ends up, we know what happened. He makes the call. That gets no media attention. In the New York Times, it's on like page 20, and they describe it as a man got arrested near Kavanaugh's house. You got to read into the story to find out what was going on, because they were in the middle of launching the reality TV show called January 6th Hearings.
Well, for something smells in that with that kid, something isn't right for him to even get that close. People aren't monitored, especially when there was all kinds of threats being thrown out there. They could have went on his website. They could have went on a lot of websites, Joe. They're not interested in protecting people that are standing in their way. They don't care about us, Joe. They really don't.
Absolutely.
Because the ultimate goal and the ends justify the means, and how many times they have to prove it to us by jeopardizing our safety, our jobs, our way of life. I mean,
100%. Hey, Joe, I'm going to hold you there.
Joe.
Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Yes, it didn't get the attention that it should have gotten. This is a huge, huge deal, folks, that someone got that close. And the fact that these people's addresses, and now they're putting out Justices Amy Coney Barrett's, not just her residence, but her church and where kids go to school. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. This double standard here, this is horrible. Can you imagine if anybody, and I'm not even talking if they were Proud Boys or some of this fanatical alt-right type of group out there, but anybody started publishing Justice Sotomayor's details to her life, or if one person even showed up in front of her house, they'd be tackled to the ground and thrown into the same jail cells as the January 6th people. But I wanted to, before we ran out of time today, so that some of these things that we're waiting on the court, obviously the abortion one, but don't forget the voting rights. There's a case that they've heard there. It began in North Carolina with the NAACP chapter filed a suit challenging the state's voter ID law, arguing the law violates Constitution and Federal Voting Rights Act. Again, if you've ever listened to my show, you know where I stand on that. It makes absolutely no sense not to require an ID when you vote. It's just nobody has ever been able to come up with a point or have a decent argument that would even make me pause for a minute and say, oh, okay. No. Your vote is one of the most valuable things. And when it comes to our government, it's the only valuable thing we have. Unless you're an elected person into the government, all you have is in your toolbox as power, folks, is your vote. And it should be guarded and protected like that for how important it is. And that's why, as a side note, and I wasn't going to get into this today on today's show, but I will maybe Friday or Sunday, is the license for illegal aliens in Massachusetts. Well, the Angel Mother, remember Milford, the case where the man who hit her son and dragged him under the truck while he had his baby, and he was absolutely drunk and killed the kid. Well, she's very active in this. They're going to do a ballot question. And they have filed with the Secretary of State. Bill Galvin has to do his process. They come back. Once they notify him, hey, we've opened up the ballot question, then she has to get, I believe, and we'll get all the details to this, folks, I think it's 40,000 signatures by August. And it would become a ballot question to repeal that. And the state legislature passed this against the will of the people, because Mass Fiscal Alliance did a very good job with their campaign and mail campaign, and they had just thousands of people write to and call state legislators' offices to tell them not to pass it. We don't go along with this. We don't believe in this. But they ignored it and they passed it. That's a side note. We'll get into this. Immigration. There's also a case in front of SCOTUS concerning immigration. And that would be, the court will determine whether the Biden administration is required to maintain Trump-era migrant protection protocols with forced asylum seekers to wait in Mexico. I've explained this a million times, folks. These people who are coming and claiming they want asylum had already been granted asylum in Mexico, in other countries too. So they may have left Haiti 8 or 9 years ago, and they've been living for several years in another country, perfectly fine. And then the administration changes and they decide that they're going to come to America for economic reasons, to live in the United States. They're not coming because of asylum, that they need protection. And this is the point. You're not going to come into the country when you pretty much it's bogus anyway, and you've been granted asylum in other countries. So that's how that works. And that's what they're going to deal with as well. And one of the other big cases that they're dealing with is the one out of New York concerning the gun rights. But we'll get more into that on Friday's edition and Sunday's edition, because that's a big one here, folks. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, out.